What's up, guys? Tonight on Friday Night Fright Night, we're diving into the black void of terror with the 1997 cult classic Event Horizon.
Yes, part haunted house, part sci-fi nightmare, and one of the most disturbing visions of space, horror space ever put on film. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, we'll break down its legacy, the scares, and why this movie still unsettles audiences nearly 30 years later.
Yeah, so let's strap in because the gravity drive is online and it's taking us straight into hell.
What's up, guys? Now, before we get started, we do got a little spoiler disclaimer for you. Before we get lost in the void, quick heads up, we'll start spoiler free, and then slowly we're going to go ahead and get into the whole full spoiler section deep dive. We'll let you know ahead of time, so don't worry. So if you haven't seen Event Horizon yet, you're safe for now, but you will get that warning.
Yes, and later we'll open up the airlock and dive into full spoiler territory. But don't worry, we'll give you a clear warning first.
That's right. So whether you've seen it or are just curious, just stick around with us without ruining the ride. Let's get started. Now, again, welcome back to Friday Night Fright Night. I'm GC, the host of Face the Movies.
Hi, I'm Lee from Cinema Whiplash. Tonight we're going to talk about Event Horizon. It's the infamous 1997 sci-fi horror movie directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, not to be confused with the other Paul Anderson.
Yeah, and this is a film that bombed on release, but since become a cult favorite. It just got a 4K. It's a bit of a mix of a Lovecraftian horror, space madness, and a shocking imagery.
Yeah, we're going to explore the legacy of this film, the infamous lost footage, and whether Event Horizon deserves the reputation as one of the scariest horror films ever made.
Yeah, and we're going to give you a little quick film synopsis, but in the year 2047, a rescue crew is sent to investigate the Event Horizon, a spaceship that mysteriously vanished years earlier near Neptune. Now it has reappeared, and what they discovered on board is far worse than anyone could have imagined. The ship's experimental gravity drive may have opened a gateway straight to hell itself.
Ooh, scary.
Oh,
Yeah, so also we're gonna mention some of the main cast and the characters. We'll be talking about them as we go. But this movie, the main actors is Lauren Fishburne as Captain Miller. He's the leader of the mission, and you got Sam Neill as Dr. William Weir, and he's the scientist who designed the gravity drive in this movie. Sam Neill is from Jurassic Park, mostly you might remember him from. Lawrence Fishburne, of course, I'll always love him from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, but
yes.
he is Morpheus from The Matrix.
Oh, dude, I always forget he was a Nightmare on Elm Street, man. Like, oh, I cannot
Yeah,
wait to rewatch those 4Ks and see him young Lawrence Fishburne in action.
when they used to still call him Larry Fishburne before he was Lawrence. He was still a young guy. He was Larry.
Larry. Dude, that is awesome, man. Now, yeah, so dude, all right, let's get started. Well, let's start from the beginning. Lee, when was the first time you saw Event Horizon and what stuck with you the most? The sci-fi, the gore, or the pure nightmare fuel?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, for me, I did see this in theaters back in the day. I wasn't 17 yet, so I think I snuck in. I can't remember if I snuck in or there was a local movie theater in town that would actually let the kids pay for R-rated movies at 14 or whatever. Um, well, what struck me the most for sure, I was not expecting this movie to have the type of gore that it had. Now, in today's standards, maybe it's not that gory of a movie, but um, when I saw it in '97. I hadn't even seen Hellraiser yet. There was still some movies, it was little by little I caught up and watched a lot of these movies growing up. But yeah, the gore really struck me. I did not expect that from this movie at all. I expected to have like just to see like a science fiction horror, you know. I think the same year we got Alien Resurrection, so something more like that. And so the gore really struck me, and those hell scenes and stuff like that. So that's really what really struck me. When was the first time you saw it?
Dude, I think I honestly probably saw it on, if I'm not mistaken, a VHS. I think that's probably when I first saw it. And then I hadn't seen it up until last night when I, finally got to see it on 4K. But man, I remember seeing that movie and just thinking, I mean, I've always been a big space guy, and when it comes to space horror, putting those 2 together is fantastic if done right. And, man, I just remember this movie just blew me away, man. I mean, it was pure nightmare fuel. Some of those scenes on there, as we get into more of the deep dive, it's reminiscent to a few other horror, staples that have that, like, you'll notice it, and it took me to watch it on 4K now to realize, like, so many inspiration from all these different movies. And man, I remember thinking, yeah, and there's a certain line in the film too that he says that it's almost the exact line from a very big horror villain in another franchise. But yeah, we're not gonna spoil it. We're not gonna spoil that part yet.
Oh man,
But
I am surprised you haven't seen it more often because this is definitely up your alley. This is a movie that I've seen it a few times. I never owned it on VHS, but I definitely own it on VHS now for the visual.
oh
I just recently found it not too long ago. It's sealed and everything, but um, yeah, I've probably seen it in my lifetime. About this was probably like my sixth time, maybe. It's a movie that for me, when I first saw it in theaters, I didn't expect that, but I also didn't love it. And as the years have gone by, the more every time I feel like every time I watch it, I like it more, which is good. It's always a good sign of a good movie.
yeah.
So yeah, for sure, that's my feeling on it for sure. And well, for you, what was like your first impressions when you saw it? Was it disturbing? Was it campy? A little bit of both.
I definitely disturbing. It does have its campy like one-liners, but it didn't feel too over the top. It was very 90s type, horror movies. It was always that one character in there, which if I'm not mistaken, we have I think it's Cooper, the character Cooper in there, which yeah, and it says on here in my notes, he is a comic relief, and he's really the funny. I mean, that dude is the most lovable one out of the whole
Yeah,
cast, and he's just like him and his campy one-liners, but in the best possible way. I know there's a scene where he tells, let me see, what was her name? Peters, the which she's no, not is it? Yeah, Kathleen, yeah, medical
uh,
technician. He,
Peters is the one that she has a son that we'll see visions
oh,
of in the yeah.
okay, that's what it was. So it
You're thinking of
was
the blonde lady, right?
Yeah. So she's the was she? Yes, Lieutenant Stark. I think she's the executive officer in this movie.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
Stark. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because they have this thing, it's always like this banter going back and forth. And there's this one scene where they get out of this like sleeping chamber and he offers her coffee and she's like, "Oh, I'm okay." He's like, "Oh, are you sure you don't want something a little hot and black?" And then just
Yeah.
looks at her a certain way. And I mean, dude, I just campiness all over the place, but definitely first impressions disturbing, some light campiness, which was needed for this movie, that's for sure.
Yeah. For me, it was more disturbing, I guess, because I guess when this movie came out in 1997, me being much younger too, I didn't catch the campiness. For me, it was just like, oh, this is
Yeah.
kind of funny, but it felt normal. You watch it now, and there's for sure, especially with that character, he's kind of like the one that kind of eases things because you're watching all these really dark things in this movie, and he's definitely the one that brings a little bit of a comedic vibe to the movie, which is much needed, like you said. So for me, the first impression of it was definitely more disturbing than campy. Um,
Oh,
but it does have a mix of sci-fi and horror. And how do you think that clashed? That like there's those classics like Alien and stuff like that. Do you think this one like did a good job putting them together?
dude, I really did, man. I felt like it was just so perfect because it does start off, which but I'll take the time actually right now before we go any further. Guys, we might start getting into spoiler territory. Obviously, the movie's almost 30 years old, but if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and pause it, go check out the movie, come back. Or if you don't care if we spoil it, stick around with us. Glad to have you here. But, we're just spoiler warning just ahead of time. With that being said, though, yeah, I mean, as far as for the mix between sci-fi and horror, I thought it worked perfectly. I felt like the beginning of it felt very familiar, like the Alien movies, right? Especially with they're using those certain devices, the scanners to detect life forms, and you see the green laser. It felt like
Yeah,
it came like I was watching an Alien movie. And then when you start getting into the horror aspect, it felt very familiar. And then that's when we go into the Hellraiser territory. It just felt like the perfect marriage between Alien and Hellraiser. And obviously with the little campiness, comedic campiness, kind of like Friday the 13th style with the counselors and, the teens. And between those three, man, I mean, I thought it was perfect. But what about for you?
Yeah, yeah. For me, I got the. I think the mix was pretty good. I didn't like I said, when I first saw it, I didn't expect that. But this movie, unlike Alien, really goes for the horror a lot
Yeah.
more. Like, Alien has some horror in it. Of course, those aliens are scary and stuff. But to think of doing an Alien, like a science fiction movie with like the Hellraiser type of horror and gore, um, I guess other than I know Hellraiser did do a little bit of an in space movie with part four. Um, so but I personally hadn't even seen that movie yet. I've seen it now, of course, but so this one was really like the first one to do it for me in my young eyes, and I thought it did a really good job doing so.
Dude, so let me ask you, do you feel that the between the marriage of like the Hellraiser, like do you think it was a good balance between like a space type movie, but also with the aspect of horror, or do you wish there was a little bit more horror aspect to it, like a little bit more gore than what we had, maybe showing a few more clips of certain recordings and stuff like that, or no?
Yeah, we do get a little bit of the what happened to the event horizon before, and that stuff is pretty gory. But I think this is what shows in this movie, and this is something getting into the special features and the background of this movie is that you could tell by watching it that it's a little bit choppy. This movie will definitely be was supposed to be longer than the 95 minutes that it is. So I would love to one day see the longer cut and see if we could get more. I think they did the best they could with what they had to do, because I mean, from what I got from this movie, and I read this online, that they both came out in '97. So, being a Paramount movie, this movie was actually supposed to come out in December, but they pushed it to the summer because Titanic was supposed to come out in the summer, but that one ran like the shooting took too long, so Titanic, so they switched spots. So because of that, the director had even less time to put this movie together, and I think that kind of messed up with the running time and the things that they cut. But with what we got, I still think we got a really good balance of both. And yeah, I could have used a little bit more horror, but I kind of like the you're waiting for those moments, and you get to build a little bit of character with the shorter runtime.
Yeah, no, it really does. I mean, I think that I grew attached to all the characters pretty evenly. They were all some of them had more mystery than others, like the doctor, like the main guy, the doctor. He was very always kind of quiet and stoic. And then obviously you have the female the which is I think she's the female medical technician of as well, which is Peters. But it was just it was so interesting because you just end up wondering about each of their lives. I know it was like that for me, especially with the character Justin, aka Baby Bear, and then obviously
Yeah,
you have Peters, which is aka Mama Bear, and you're kind of finding yourself wondering, what brought that like that type of nicknames and warmth to the characters, and why do they treat each other like that? And I think they did a fantastic job with pretty much like the camaraderie of the crew in the film. It was very believable. It felt like the way they interacted with each other, the way they joked with each other, they just felt like a family. Like they were all siblings, just kind of messing with each other, but taking their job serious. So that was something that they executed pretty well. And I mean, it's incredible that with that whole, like what you mentioned, as far as for the release date changing, right? Them
yeah,
having even less time to edit, they did such a phenomenal job. I didn't feel, to me, it didn't feel very choppy or anything. I mean, we'll talk about special effects, how they held up and whatnot in a little bit, but it just felt good. I feel like I got to spend a little bit of time with each character.
yeah. And it's funny you mentioned Baby Bear because I throughout the whole movie I was wondering. I'm like, they all treat him like we gotta protect him. He's the baby. He's like
Yeah,
they all love him, and they're like, so you wonder like, damn, I wonder where that relationship came from. We don't really get much explanation of
yeah.
even why they call him
I
Baby
I
Bear, but
I think it was because he was the youngest one. That's what it was, because they
yeah,
were so
yeah,
protective, and I mean, yeah, out of everybody, they just I think he was like the rookie of the crew, But
Mm.
yeah, I think that's what it was, man. But dude, I wanted to ask you, man, how does the film's production design, right? Like the ship, the gravity drive, how did you feel like that contributed to the horror of the movie?
I liked it. I thought this movie really did a good job with the ship. It's not like one that you've seen before a lot of times, especially the interior. I think the sets were created really nice. I got to see a little bit of the special features this time around, but I don't know if you did. It's split into like five parts, and it runs longer than the movie, so it really has a lot of good stuff on there. I only got through the first two parts, but they do talk about the design, and he was going for these like these churches from Europe and stuff, all the interior,
Yeah.
and it really shows. Like I love the interior. I love where the black hole thing is, like all that metal, and just it's just like I think that holds up really good. The visual effects where they try to use CGI, 1997 low budget movie, you got to expect it. I mean, even the opening shot, there's a lot of things floating around. The CGI doesn't look very good anymore, especially when you watch it in like the crisp 4K.
Yeah.
But dude, you can't beat the production design. That never goes away. That stays there. It looks good, 97, 2027. Like it's gonna look good. And I think that is probably my favorite part of the movie. The production
Yeah.
design is it's beautiful.
I agree with you that it was incredible because you watch movies now that have to do with space. I almost said with space, but yeah, you have these movies, right? These modern space movies, and I just feel like sometimes with all the money they have, they can have big budgets. The production value, it's very plain. It's very minimal. It's nothing to kind of like pull you in with that curiosity of like, wow, that's I've never seen that before. But seeing this movie on 4K and like you touched on, I mean, the CGI definitely watching this movie in 4K, you notice like to me it was terrible. Like you see a watch floating and everything just looks so out of
Yeah,
place. It's almost like I prefer that all that stuff wasn't floating around so close to the screen. If it was more farther away, like some of the objects you couldn't tell was CGI, but anything too close, and I know what they were going for, kind of being like, oh, we're in space, everything flies around, there's no gravity, but yeah, man, like I just felt like besides that, the movie held so perfectly for almost 30 years. Like the costumes when they were in space, I mean the set, like it was so creepy. You just felt that like even to the point where they get to the event horizon and they're in the chamber where they're trying to open the door, the latch, and they're trying to get inside, right? So they can start figuring out what's going on. Just when you get to that latch alone and you see it, you see the camera zoom in, it's like frozen, and then the door opens and they get inside. It's just ominous from beginning to end, um, even to the design of the black hole, right? That room itself with
yeah,
that kind of warp drive type thing. It's like that long hallway. It felt endless, and it plays so well in certain scenes as it feels almost like it's extending itself, and it's almost literally leading you into hell. It's kind of like it reminds me of the Divine Comedy by Dante, where
okay.
it's just almost it almost felt like you were descending into hell as you were going into that room. But dude, yeah, it's incredible. I definitely noticed those kind of European church designs that
Oh
you
yeah.
mentioned. Like it was really cool.
Yeah. No, no, I think that stuff holds up really, really well. And there's a lot of stuff that really holds up well for this movie. I think like with that opening scene with the stuff floating, I think they purposely put it close to the camera because at the time they were like showing off, like, oh, look what
Yeah.
we can do now, right? But with with time these things age, and that's why I
Yeah.
love practical over CGI anytime, because even in the future, some of the stuff that we see now, our eyes are used to it, but then as it gets better, your eyes gets accustomed to better. And then when you look at the stuff from the past, the movie could still be great quality movie, but the CGI ages and doesn't look as good. But for me, that doesn't take away from me liking a movie.
Yeah.
Even if that stuff ages, even sometimes older movies, even the sets, or just you could touch a picture or a drawing, that stuff doesn't really bother me as long as the movie is good.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it, I mean, the narrative of the film, the script, everything, the actors themselves, they're so believable, they're so good that even those little minor things, because again, if you're watching this on DVD, you're watching it on VHS. I haven't seen the Blu-ray, but if I know if you're watching it on those formats, you might not notice the CGI like that as much. Obviously 4K just brings out everything. So that's when you really notice it. But even then, man, they did such a phenomenal job that yeah, it's fine by me. I was like, you know what? That's cool because the second that I sat there and I was like, oh, this kind of looks like shit. And then they start acting and they start showing you other things. I completely forget about the CGI.
I wanted to ask you, going back to the characters,
Yeah.
what did you think of Sam Neill in this movie? Because for me, he was like, at first you feel for him because they show him like with a bunch of pictures of his wife. It looks like she died. He's this ship, when they get into it, it shows you that it's the ship is basically kind of alive and it brings your worst nightmares to life. So we do see some stuff with his wife, but I kind of felt like even before the ship, he was a little bit of a dick, right? He came off as a little bit of an asshole to me, a little bit of a pretentious guy that he's like he was just there. He's like, just I want to go to my ship, even though these people were on a prior mission and they had to, instead of going home, they had to help him find the event horizon. But I thought he really stood out with his performance.
I think he did too, man. I mean, it one of the things that stuck out about him was he was very awkward. Right? He was very awkward in the beginning where he felt like and I hope anybody listening, you don't take insult to it because I consider myself a big nerd with certain things. But he just that's what he felt like. He felt very scientist. He sold it because everybody else is like this rough, kind of like badass. They're all funny, just in a rush. They're confident and he's very just like, "Oh, excuse me, I'm here for this," and they're like, "Okay, yeah, suit up, put this on," and he's like, "Oh, but this and that, and the event horizon." They're like, yeah, just get in here, just shh, you know." Um, but I always feel like he does a fantastic job. I've never seen him in a role where I've been disappointed or I'm like, I could have got more. I think that he sold grief pretty well. I thought that in his like in those moments where he became a darker character, he took that arc in the film he sold the shit out of it. I thought it was great. Um, but yeah, it was interesting to see him. I'm so used to I felt like it was just like he it was the same person from Jurassic Park, but in space and a little bit more sadder. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, he went through this little part in the '90s, and I can only think of another one right now. But I think he did more than this one. And in the Mouth of Madness, he did a few
Yeah.
horror movies. So that's kind of, I always think of him. And like this one, I saw first. The Mouth of Madness came out in '95, but I saw it later. I enjoy that movie too. But I also want to mention Lawrence Fishburne because I think like he was cast perfectly because he has
Yeah.
that presence when he walks into a room like a born leader. So him always like telling everybody what to do because he's the captain. It just worked so well. Like this cast, the whole cast, even the people that you'll see their faces and you're like, oh, these are familiar faces, but you might not know the actor's name because they're not household names like these two main actors. But I thought everybody really stood out. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about them because I really liked the acting in this movie, especially from Fishburne and Neil.
Dude, Lawrence Fishburne to me was he's again one of those staples in Hollywood where he just cannot do wrong. At least in my eyes, my personal opinion. But this movie was one of my favorites of his because his character was just he was, and it's funny as I was watching with my girlfriend, and I was just telling her, like halfway through the movie, I was like, man, he's such a good leader. Like he's the type of guy that he played that role so well that I forgot he was acting because he just walks in, like you said, commands the room and just mannerisms, the way he looks at you, his how his tone changes, where he was able to be playful with with the characters, with his crew, but also be serious at the same time. Not that many people could pull that off. Like some people could just sound like an asshole or like demanding, but he was likable. I have to say my favorite character out of the whole bunch, just because he was obviously besides Cooper, but he was just so funny in a dry way and yeah, I mean, he crushed it, man. He really did. I did want to talk about another character on here, which he's actually in Harry Potter. He plays yeah.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm trying to remember his name here. I have it. It's
He's DJ.
Jason. Okay, so Jason
Jason
Isaacs.
Isaacs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he plays Malfoy's dad in Harry Potter. And
right.
it took me a second. It took me a good second. I think it's about like 20, 30 minutes in where I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, I was like, Potter. But
And I remember him a lot from well, yeah, it's funny because as you said Harry Potter, I kind of made a face like, "What are you talking about?" And it just, I'm like, "Oh yeah," but I
Yeah,
also remember him a lot as the villain from The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
that's right. Oh, see, I forgot about that, dude. Like, I mean, this movie is stacked. I mean, it really is. I know Joelle Lee Richardson, which plays LT Stark. I've seen her in other stuff. I've seen her in a ton of other stuff, and she reminds me of the actress from Jurassic Park, the blonde, Laura. I forget her last name. You know who I'm talking about,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah, the blonde from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and what's
Yeah,
her
I'm blanking on her name now too.
Laura
Uh,
something, Stern,
yes,
not Stern, but like something like that. But I know that they look alike, pretty like they look
Stark,
pretty.
her and Stark, right?
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah,
look
yeah.
like. And I remember kept thinking, I was like, was she in Jurassic Park too? I was like, we got Sam Neill here. I wouldn't blame them if they brought her in. They had good chemistry, but
Right.
yeah, she's somebody that stuck out. I've seen her in a few things, but yeah, fantastic cast all around. But let's, dude, I got another question for you. So the infamous blood orgy, right? That footage that was mostly cut. You barely see anything. Do you think
Right.
the film is scarier because they restrained that footage, or would it have benefited for them showing more of it?
I like it the way it is because yeah, like we mentioned earlier, this movie was the original runtime was supposed to be 130 minutes, so 2 hours and 10 minutes, but it got a lot, it got cut, and the blood orgy got cut big time. These visions of hell, that's the one you're talking about, right? The hell visions that we get.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
yeah, no, that stuff for me, I think it worked. We could have used maybe nowadays, especially, we could have used a little bit more. But I think just seeing those flashes of it, and it looks scary. It looks like, that's the little bit of the Hellraiser vibe to it. For me, it worked, and of course, I would be interested if they could, get the footage back. I would love to see the director's cut or whatever you want to call it, the longer cut for this movie. Out of curiosity, I don't know if it would make the movie better or not. We don't know, but I think it worked fine, man, because it doesn't. It's one of those things where the you don't see as much because if you see too much, you kind of get desensitized. But just with what we got, I thought it was good. Do you think you would prefer the longer version?
Man, I'd just be curious to see because I feel like not even a longer version, but I feel that if they would have not cut it so fast, just to be able like to get an extra second or two of like really get a view for hell, at least in the movie, I think it would have been interesting to see. Because just they were cutting it so fast. I felt like I was watching like a reel on Instagram where it's just like to the point and like that's
Yeah.
it. But I mean, yeah, man, I would have loved to see a little bit more, see what would have happened. But it's just like the movie The Conjuring, right? For example, in The Conjuring, there's no cursing. You don't really see any blood or anything crazy. There's no real horror like that. It's mostly leaving it up to your imagination and using the environment. And I felt like that's what this movie had going for it. A lot of movies try to take the easy way out. And I mean, you have movies like Terrifier, right? It's kind of it draws a line between horror and like stuff like that, but then it's pretty much like horror prawn because like obviously can't say the word, we'll probably get vanished or something, but you guys get the
Right.
picture, PORN. And that's what it feels like. If they would have gone too much that way, it would have probably ended up being more like that. Um, I think it leaves it up to the imagination, and the imagination is very powerful. We don't need to be spoon fed horror. You could just show us a few glimpses and go from there. I mean, I think it was plenty. I think it was plenty, but I am curious to see the director's cut, and I'm wondering why they haven't released it yet. Like, if
Well, what I heard, what I read online was that they actually gave them the go, like it was okay for them to do it back in 2017. They were gonna work on it, but then the director got busy, and then with the footage that they did find, they it wasn't salvageable, like it was too messed up, so they weren't able to. And then after that, they found a tape, but just a VHS tape with a bunch of footage that they could use. But they don't know yet if they're gonna be able to salvage that as far as making a, being able to, at least make it look, DVD or something, because it's gonna look pretty bad. So I think eventually when when all the creators get the time, maybe eventually they can salvage enough to put out a director's cut. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Maybe it gives new life to the movie too.
Yeah, I would love to see if there's any way, because I'm curious to see how that works, right? I'm assuming this movie back then was shot on film, so they would have the film reels and everything. I wonder if when they do like another remastering, because obviously we have the 4K, but when they do like a director's cut, if they could do something along the lines of maybe editing the CGI, because it wasn't like there was only I could think of like two scenes in particular that it's when it was like very choppy, and it was with the smallest things, like with when they first enter and all the stuff floating around. So I wonder when they remastered if they could edit that with modern CGI, and if they were to do that, I mean, dude, I don't think if for anybody that hasn't seen that movie, if they saw it in those eyes, they probably wouldn't know the difference. They'd think it's a new movie or something. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm hoping that happens, man. I mean, I would definitely buy the director's cut because I'm a huge fan of this film. Obviously, we're doing the episode, but
Yeah. Yeah, and well, I guess how would you say that this movie compares to like, the classic space horror movies like Alien and The Thing?
do you as far as for like putting it in the same category or just like kind of like horror aspect? Because man, I definitely feel like it's its own category, like of space horror, because you
They're
don't have.
different because I mean, The Thing is not really a space horror, but it's a science fiction horror, so
Yeah. No, because I feel so, and that's the thing, like the thing, pun intended. Alien and the Thing, they have an actual like monster, right? So you see like these creatures, and obviously Alien, you have the aliens. The Thing, you have that thing that takes people's bodies and turns into them and all that. But with this Event Horizon, it's mostly the ship, right? It's like this object, and it's like you don't really see the villain until the very very end compared to these other movies. So I definitely hold Event Horizon up there with Alien and the Thing. I think it belongs in those, and I guess in those pedestals with them. And I mean, I think in another 20, 30 years, people will still talk about it. But I do think that just because it doesn't have that constant evil in it, it's a more of a space type ghost horror movie.
yeah. That's what it is. I think it's like a more like The Haunting. The director mentioned that he's a fan of The Haunting and he just wanted to do like a haunted movie but in space. And I think like if I was to put it in the category, I think that this movie is more of a horror movie
Yeah.
than The Thing and Alien. Do I think it's better? No. I mean, to me, The Thing is one of the I love it. It's one of probably my top 20 movies of all time. But it is a good movie, and I just yeah, I think the comparisons are always going to be there with these type of movies, especially a movie like The Thing and Event Horizon, which are both cult movies now. They're both movies that didn't do well at the box office, but now they've grown that cult status. And but yeah, I think that they're pretty different. I mean, this one really does go for the and as we mentioned, they I know that it's not the whole movie, but when we do get the horror, this is like true horror. This is a true horror movie in the sense of like a Hellraiser, more than those two, which lean more on especially Alien, more on science fiction than horror, in my opinion.
And I'm wondering because I do think that, or I do nothing. I do believe that the director was inspired by Hellraiser, because you even have Sam Neill towards a certain scene where he delivers that famous line from Pinhead where he tells him, "I've got such sights to show you." And it when he said that, I was like, "Wow, like did this just become Hellraiser?" I mean, they're talking about hell, especially those scene with that blood orgy. It's like, dude, this is very like, I mean, man, like this person, like the director, he freaking must have loved Hellraiser.
Yeah, the call is coming from inside the house, Hellraiser. They're coming. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely one of those that well, and obviously I think the design of as we get towards like the end of the movie when the ship completely takes over Sam Neill's character and he like takes his eyes off and then later on we see him with all cuts all over his body and I was like if you just add some pins to his face, he's Pinhead because he's got all the cuts, he's just missing
Yeah.
the pins. So and it's a scary look, like not scary, but it's one of those like well, even as a kid, it's a little bit of a scary look. Like he's got cuts all over him. It's very gothic. It's very dark. And it's very hell like.
Very it reminded me of, like, Stigmata when she gets possessed and has all the cuts and stuff,
Right.
and that's what it reminded me of. His character was very unsettling once he does that full transformation and you just see him there. It's very uncomfortable. It was something about as simple as a man missing his eyes and just all those cuts to me that made it creepy as hell. Like I to me that is creepier than like if I saw the actual alien or the thing. It creeped me out way more just because it was a human that was like possessed, man. Like it it was so freaking gnarly the way they did that.
Yeah, well, that's what this movie does when it comes to. So Sam Neill's his wife, she keeps popping up in the movie, and she's
Yeah.
also missing her eyes, and then they say in the movie when you go into this dark hole, you come back. The sight's like you don't need eyes. He says that when after he cut him, they're like, "What did you do to yourself?" He's like, "What?" And that's when the line comes in a little bit too from the Hellraiser, and like saying you don't need your eyes. You're like the things you're gonna see is like your eyes are not even necessary. So it has that theme that the ship seems to do that to you, coming from the visions that he shows him of his wife, and then what happens to himself without the eyes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only CGI moment that wasn't too bad. Like when we see her without the eyes, you could still see this little bit of CGI
Yeah.
in his wife, but it's not bad. Like I don't think that one's as bad as the floating stuff for sure.
No, we're touching on the wife right now. That scene, because there's a specific scene in the film where he's getting one of the first like flashbacks, right? And we kind of find out what happened to his wife. We find out that she took her own life. And she just you see the full scene, right? Her getting the tub ready and getting in the tub and stuff. But one thing you notice in this film, which I found interesting, I don't know if it was a contract thing with the actress or not, but most films that you see, especially back then, I mean, there is like a full nudity thing. But with her, she's still wearing underwear when she goes into the tub. Like, and it wasn't kind of one of those they meant for it to not show. Like it was very obvious. And then especially when he looks away from the tub and he's like crying and stuff, and then all of a sudden he looks up and she's standing there and he puts his face against her stomach and she's kind of like consoling him, she's still wearing the underwear. And I was wondering if it was just an actress thing where she just didn't want to do the full nude scene, or it would just the director wanted it that way. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I've never taken a bath in my underwear. So it was kind of like, why did she go topless but not bottomless to take a bath?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that might be a rating thing, maybe because
Oh,
the way that he hugs her, it's like a
yeah,
lower frame. So you do see her breast a little bit from the top, but it was mostly in the crotch area. So I think that would have been like really close to the camera. So it was probably a rating thing. That would be my best guess about that. But I do feel like yeah, because it'll be like, well, she's not thinking about things. She's just wanting to kill herself. So
yeah.
her going with her underwear is. But if she still maybe had her bra on, then it would have made more sense with both than just one and not the other. But yeah, my guess would be just trying to keep that R rating and not get a NC-17. So
That makes sense, especially with that whole blood orgy scene where they cut it enough where you can't really see too much.
yeah.
So I mean that makes a lot of sense too. Okay. And dude, I wanted to ask you, man. I just want to go back to Lawrence Fishburne one quick second. There's something that, and because that's a question I had for you. This is more of a statement, but I just noticed that every time he was in that little captain's chair, it felt like he was in a wheelchair. I felt like the captain's chair was so narrow and so small that it made his legs look like he was in a wheelchair, like he couldn't walk. And it just every time it moved and stuff, I just found it very funny. And that's one thing that stuck out to me throughout the entire film. Every time he sat there, I was like, they could have not designed like a better captain's chair. Like, why is it like that?
It's the one that's hanging, right? It's
Yeah,
hanging
yeah.
down.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
hanging, it's like kinda like almost like scooping him when he's
Yeah.
sitting. But I don't
Yeah.
know if you go back, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see just his legs are just kinda almost like it looks uncomfortable. Like I couldn't picture him sitting there for an hour or 2 just being the captain.
Yeah. You know what? I did notice I did notice it because it was hanging. I thought the design wasn't too bad, but I didn't notice that. But what I did notice about Lawrence Fishburne's character is that he runs a lot in this movie. Like
Yeah.
in the third act, he's running throughout the whole movie. He's always in that big part of the ship that separates both parts that you could blow up one part and the other. and
Yeah.
he's like running back and forth. And I was like, damn, Lawrence Fishburne must have friggin' ran like a marathon after this, because he was probably in shape, because he had to like, and who knows how many takes he had to do, to
Oh,
do that.
dude, yeah. I mean, those were great scenes because they really showed the complexity and the size of that ship, which was amazing. But I mean, if you look back to in the beginning of the film where they're getting all ready to go in those like chambers, those sleeping pods, to go into that hole and for the long haul. I mean, you see everybody getting dressed and changed and stuff, obviously shirtless. And dude, back then, I mean, he was in the best shape. You know, he wasn't like as you start getting to the Matrix. I mean, actually, no, even in the Matrix, I think he was in good shape. I mean, up
Yeah,
until now, but
I think maybe towards the sequels he got a little bigger. The
yeah,
first Matrix he was in good shape. Yeah, maybe in the like by Reloaded he was getting a bit,
yeah,
because he's a bigger guy now. He's a little bit overweight, but yeah, no, he was in good shape here. And then when he was Larry, he was like a skinny guy, and in
yeah.
Apocalypse Now, and Nightmare on Elm Street 3 for sure.
Oh, absolutely, man. But
Dude,
yeah,
but
those
you know what? I wanted to talk real quick. I just wanted
yeah.
to mention that I felt bad for your favorite character, Cooper, because we do see him spending so much time fixing the Lois and Clark the whole time, and then finally when he's got it fixed, freaking here comes the doctor, what's his name, Weir, and he blows it up, and I just felt bad for it, even though he survives it. But I thought it was so funny that he's like, "Yeah, finally finished it," and then boom, it blows up.
Dude, that was man, that was so funny because and I'm telling you, this guy is just his personality. Like out of all the characters, he would be the one that I would want to get a beer with, because out of all the guys, he was just even when he's being blown out into space, like he's just talking to himself and just being funny as hell. And then he was like, "Here I come, mother effers," and then he's
Yeah.
just like flying back to the thing, and then he gets there, and then obviously Captain Weir, which is Sam Neill's character, he shoots the that main window and it explodes, and then Cooper gets sucked back out into space, and he's like, "Oh no, not again!"
Yeah.
Dude, he was just I'm glad, man, that like his character got like what he got towards the end, because he was just this poor guy dealt with so much and kept getting
Yeah.
rejected the entire time.
Yeah, but he got to survive at least.
Yeah, that's
Him and the surviving characters is him and the blonde girl Stark.
yeah, Lieutenant Stark. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, man, he still has a chance with the whole coffee thing.
That's true, man. Dude, I love that scene. Like my girlfriend actually chuckled and she's like, "Hey, look at him." And I was like, I mean, this guy, he's a charmer, man. Like he delivered it in I mean, I know a ton of people that could say the same line and it would not come off like charming or funny. It would kind of be kind of like cheesy and weird. But the way the dude said it, man, I was like, this guy gets it, man. He's freaking hilarious.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
dude,
he's a funny guy.
I want to ask you, man, is there anything in this movie that you feel that they could have changed to improve, or anything in the film that was unnecessary? Like as far as for care, because we did talk about that in our last episode, slight little um
Yeah,
promotion here, but we on our last episode of weapons, we did talk about certain characters not needing to be there, changing certain arcs. Like how'd you feel about Event Horizon?
totally opposite for me. I feel like, and I think like we've been discussing a lot throughout this one. It's the fact that this movie was supposed to be longer, so you can feel that it was trimmed. And at 95 minutes, I don't really think I would cut anything out, because I think enough got cut out. In my
Yeah.
opinion, I feel like I would actually like to spend a little more time with the characters before shit hits the fan in the movie. Actually, I would have liked to spend a little more time with them, because they're fun characters, they're good characters, and each character has their own personality. There's not too much of like, oh, this character's kind of the same as this one, so why do you have two of them? Everyone kind of has something. So now for me, I think keep it as is, and interested to see a longer cut. But as far as cutting anything, no, not in my opinion. I don't think so.
Yeah. It was I felt the same way, man. I think that the way they did everything was perfect. The ending was fantastic, very ominous, but it left you wanting more. Like this was one of those horror like movies, one of those I mean, and we watch a lot of horror movies where we get excited for a sequel and then we regret it. And sometimes we don't even want a sequel. Obviously, like Weapons are talking about, doing the prequel and all that stuff. And we're like, I mean, we don't really need it. But with Event Horizon, it left me wanting a sequel, especially even now after 30 years later. Obviously, I know it would not be the same. It would have to be a complete different cast, unless somehow Lawrence Fishburne, he's in it, and I mean, it doesn't show him dying in this film. So technically, we have three surviving characters because the captain himself, he doesn't die. Like when the ship separates, he's still alive. He's in that room with the black hole and with Dr. Weir. So I mean, but we'll get to the ending in a little bit. So I mean, if you guys are listening, we're not there yet. Just hang on.
Well, almost talking about editing, I do want to mention something, and I don't know if it's like a well. Let's talk about it later because it is like pretty much the end. So we'll
Okay.
get to it soon. Yeah.
Well, do you,
So
do you feel, man, like this movie deserves a cult status today, or it's a little overhyped?
no, I don't think it's overhyped. I believe this movie. I mean, I've even mentioned we were gonna do an episode on this to certain a few people in my life, friends and family and stuff, and like a lot of them haven't even seen it or they don't really remember it that much. And I do feel like people that love film and love horror, they know the movie, they pick up on it, and that's why I do think it's a cult movie. It hasn't become a huge cult movie like
Yeah.
like The Thing did, but I think it still has time to, and I do believe that it deserves the cult status. You?
Yeah, dude, I 100%. I mean, it's a perfect example of how you can mix different genres of film together and get something fantastic. I mean, again, the whole little gimmicky CGI aside, I mean, it's fantastic in every way. Perfect storytelling, and more than enough time with each character. Each character leaves a good impression where you care about each one. You're curious about each one. It doesn't have all the gore in your face constantly. It knows what it is and it delivers. It's in such a fantastic way. It's very creative. But it's interesting because last night on a Cinema Rewind episode, I was telling my buddy Steven from After Hours Video, and I was promoting this episode where I was telling everybody, hey, we're gonna be recording it tomorrow and putting it out Friday. And when he asked what movie it was, I was like, oh, we're doing Event Horizon. And he was like, "Oh, hell yeah." Like, they got excited when I said it. So that's when I knew. I was like, "Yep. I mean, this is definitely a cult classic."
Yeah, I feel like not that many people have spoken on this movie too much. Maybe if you look it up, I'm sure some people have, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
a movie like like the big ones. Like and I keep mentioning The Thing, which I love. The Thing, I love it. But that movie, you can look up videos, and there's 1,000 of them. People talking about The Thing. You don't get that much from Event Horizon, so I'm glad to be adding to it. I'm glad we're adding to it,
Yeah.
and I definitely think it deserves the cult status, and hopefully more people find it.
Yeah, because when we talked about it, when we were trying to figure out, okay, we wanna schedule these episodes out. Obviously, we're doing one each week, so we wanna be prepared ahead of time and stuff. But, I mean, man, when this movie was brought up, it was an automatic, like, we both were like, "Hell yes, man." Like, dude, this is
Yeah.
the one. Especially and I think it was fate because you found the VHS at the used movie and bookstore, and I've never come across this on VHS, like, at least in the last, like, 10, 15 years, so it was
Yeah,
meant to
well,
be.
if you still lived here, you would have got it first because you I got it at the spot that you loved. But I mean, I bought the 4K. I looked it up in 2023, so this is my second time watching it in 4K. Um, but I'm definitely glad that we did the episode, and I'm glad that you watched it again. It had been a little bit for you, but I know you were already a fan of it,
Yeah,
so
man. It made me love it
it's a
even
fun
more.
watch.
You,
Yeah,
you know it's good because my girlfriend doesn't like space stuff, right? And when it comes to sci-fi and space, she's like, whatever. And when I told her what it was, and she saw like just the menu of the 4K, she was like, oh man, this is like some space movie. But let me
yeah,
tell you, 10, 15 minutes in, because within the first 10 minutes, she kept kind of staring at the screen and getting bored. But once it really picks up, like once they arrive to Event Horizon and they're outside of that ship, and it shows that opening beautiful shot where it shows the name of the ship like all lit up and everything.
oh
Like I
yeah,
saw her face just staring the entire time, all the way to the end, and even making comments throughout. And that's when you know, for somebody that's not into sci-fi like that or space movies, for them to get sucked into a type of film, it's that good, it's that well written that it just immerses you into it. Um, but dude, do you feel that if they did a remake today with modern effects, and kind of the grit from the 90s that made it unique. Do you feel like it would succeed in this time, or it would be already like too many space horror movies?
Oh, that's a good question because that one I'm not sure about my answer. I would tell you that I don't want a remake for it.
Yeah.
I think that I would prefer for people to just discover it and watch this one. Yes, I agree 100% that the CGI effects are not very good, especially those the floating stuff. There's a lot of floating liquid later on too and stuff like that
Yeah.
until they get the gravity in the event horizon that's not very good. It's pretty bad. But if you just take away the CGI of those things, the floating things, I think the rest of the movie holds up really really well. So I wouldn't really want a remake. If they make it, I'd watch it, and maybe it helps people come back to the original, which is what remakes do a lot. Like, oh, okay, now I heard of Total Recall with Colin Farrell. Now let me go back and watch the Schwarzenegger one if you're younger or whatever. So sometimes remakes works in the favor of the original, so that might help it a little bit. And I can see a young cast having a good time with this and kind of keeping that '90s grit, like you said. So I wouldn't be like mad if they do it, but I personally don't think that it's necessary.
Because if you think about the remake for Hellraiser that they did, if I'm not mistaken, it got a pretty positive response. I know when I watched it, I was like, "Oh, okay, like not bad." Like it was interesting the route they did with Hellraiser with Pinhead himself. I made him a woman this time, but it besides that, I was like, "Okay, this was interesting," and that's what I was wondering. I was wondering with event. I mean, it's just I think that's to me I I would be curious if they did a remake. I'd still watch it, be excited about it, but at the same time, it really does have that 90s grit, especially the characters. I mean, who would they get to cast as a captain besides Lawrence Fishburne? I mean, he like that role. I could not picture anybody else playing that role as good as he did. Especially with Cooper. Cooper with just the comic relief was fantastic. I think Sam Neill was perfectly cast for this film. I mean, yeah, everyone. Like I couldn't picture anybody out of place in this film. They all just it was just perfection.
If I the actor that came to mind right now for Lawrence Fishburne, if it was a remake, because he also he wouldn't be better, but I just could see him doing his Idris Alba. I kind of could see him
Oh.
having that presence as the captain. I see him like doing like really well with that. But yeah, I mean Lawrence Fishburne already knocked it out of the park. There's no need to remake it. But I was already like fan casting in my mind. I was like, oh, maybe Idris Alba. And for the comedy relief, I'm not sure, but they could do it, but man, nah, I think it's good as is. I think we just have to look past the bad CGI, and I prefer getting the director's cut over a remake.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree with you on that casting, man. Aldris Alba is like fantastic. I think he is just the modern Lawrence Fishburne. Like,
Yeah,
he really walks in a room, just demands, respect. I mean, he's very any film that he's been in, I mean, I think he's crushed it. He always shows his A game and
yeah,
just a force to be reckoned with, man. So I think he would be a perfect because the thing is Lawrence Fishburne wasn't really like comedic. Like he said funny things, but it wasn't like he was just there, just making jokes and stuff. It was just the way he delivered things was funny in a serious way, and I think
yeah,
Aldris would do the same thing.
yeah. He could pull it off.
Man, I
I do
mean,
feel like I wanted. Oh, I just wanted to mention real quick this. That this movie, and I thought back on it because I personally played the video game for PS3 back in the day, and they remade it and came out for PS5. But the game that really was inspired by this movie is Dead Space. I don't know if you ever played it,
yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
that game has a lot of stuff. Like if you think about that game, then you're like, well, it was very inspired by Event Horizon, and on top of that, if they've turned that game into a movie, then you don't even need an Event Horizon remake because that's gonna have a lot of the similar vibes to it, especially.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I remember playing that a long time ago and thinking to myself that I was like, man, this is very, very familiar. Even if you look at the ship itself on the main cover of the game, like it just really stands out. And
Yeah.
there's actually, and I wanted to mention something. So for Event Horizon, there's an actual comic book for it.
Oh yeah. Is
Yeah,
it something that came out recently, or it came out back in the day?
so I'm looking it up now. It's actually from 2025. So it did come out.
Oh,
It's a mini series. It was published on August 20th, which is
A
literally
week ago.
a week ago.
Wow.
Um, and it says it's a miniseries premiere in an all new cosmic horror story set in the universe of the terrifying cult classic film, The Event Horizon, which was a revolutionary spaceship designed for one mission: faster than light travel with a top secret and experimental gravity drive. But upon
Right.
activating the device, the ship journeyed across the borders of hell itself in a nightmarish realm of torment beyond imagination. Captain Kilpack and the first crew of the Event Horizon must resist all manner of demonic forces, including Paimon, the eyeless king. No, yeah, the eyeless king of hell, and their own descent into madness and bloodlust. If they've any chance of escaping back to their own world, abandon all hope on board. And the Event Horizon with multiple Eisner Award winner Christian Ward, writer of Batman City of Madness, Two Face, and Power. So that's cool. I guess it's like a prequel
No, it's a sequel.
from
Isn't it a sequel? Because they only brought Killpack back, and he's the only one that survives. It's just him and Stark or whatever her name was.
Kill
Oh, it said it was.
Captain.
It was a prequel.
Well, because it says the
Because Mhm.
kill pack. I'm trying to
Isn't
see.
Killpack the funny guy? He's the one that survives.
No, that's Cooper.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I think this is based on the original crew in the movie.
oh, I was totally lost there. That makes perfect sense. Oh, that's cool, man. To do like a prequel of what happened to that first crew. Yeah,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah, yeah, because it says Captain Kilpack and the first crew of the Event Horizon. So, dude, that is awesome, man. I mean, obviously we know what happens to him, but still, like to be able
Yeah,
to actually have the comic book and it looks pretty cool. Um,
I'll look it up, especially if it only came out a week ago. It's I go to a local comic book shop and pick it up, and I'm sure it's gonna have more than one issue, but keep an eye on it and get the rest.
dude,
That's cool.
I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping that it's a physical and it's because I know a lot of comics this day and age they do only the digital releases. So, but I did forward it to you, so at least you have that there. But I came across it because when I was doing a little bit more research on the film, I saw Event Horizon Dark Descent #1, and I'm thinking to myself, I was like, what? And then when you see the cover of it, you see the Dr. Weir type, per creature, and then you see the ship itself, and it just looks so cool. So I'm thinking to myself, like, oh man, okay, so something else is going on. And at first I thought it was like a game or something, but
Hmm.
yeah,
That's really cool. I'm glad you mentioned that because I had no idea, and I would be interested, especially because if you would have told me, oh, it came out 3 4 years ago, I'm like, well, I missed the boat, and I'm not gonna be digging for this old comic, that's sometimes harder to find. But if it just came out a week ago, I actually lucky enough have a comic book shop not too far from my house, so I can actually go check it out, see if they have it.
yeah. And for anybody interested, I will put the link in the description of this episode. So if you guys obviously you're listening to this, you're fans of Event Horizon, you'll be able to check out this comic book. And it does say miniseries, and so it says #1. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more, which is going to be kind
Yeah.
of cool. I've never been a big comic book guy, and not just because I don't dislike them, I just never really collected. But for something like this, I would love to have this series just to go hand in hand with the movie. I think it's great. I mean, it looks good. I mean, obviously, it's an award-winning writer, so he worked on Batman. I think we could all say that we all enjoyed the Batman series. I mean, why not? Um,
Sounds good.
but dude, let's talk about what do you want to? I guess take the warp drive towards closer towards the ending of the film because I've got some questions, man. What do you think?
Yeah, well, what I wanted to discuss about the ending, and this is like the bitter end, like the last shot.
Yeah,
I thought it was weird because okay, so we see that as we were talking earlier, there's the explosion. They blow up the other half of the ship, the other, and then it separates, and then you have a Cooper and you have Stark, and they survive. So what's weird is then the movie cuts to like this nightmare scene that's going on, and then you realize that it's a nightmare that Stark's having, and then he wakes her up, and then he goes, "Hey, it was a nightmare, don't worry," and then boom, it just cuts to the credits, and I just felt like it was a weird ending because I don't know. I just felt like it just happened. Like, oh, okay, by the way, boom, it's over. Like, I don't know. That's the only thing. about the bitter end of it, like just the end of it, that I was like, oh man, there could have been, I don't know, it's just the way it cut was weird for me.
Yeah, I it felt so right. We have the ending where the captain he just blows up the main hull of the ship, and then it separates the two. Right. So then we have Cooper, we have the lieutenant, and they go on the lifeboat. They float off in the lifeboat, and then you have Lawrence Fishburne, which obviously we see he's still at the end of the hull where he's in there with the black hole. He's with Doctor Weir, and they get sucked into hell. So to me, it felt like we don't see Lawrence Fishburne die, and then the ending where we see the lieutenant and we see Cooper, and she wakes up from the nightmare, like you said, it just felt ominous. Like they didn't end it in a way where, like, it's like okay, it's over. Even with the doors closed, it almost felt like something bad was about to happen after the doors closed,
Yeah, yeah.
and it didn't. I don't know. Like it felt like something like there was going to be a continuation or something. But, like, do you think they made it out? Do you think they survived?
Yeah, I think they survived. I think they got rescued because, oh, you're talking about the two survivors, right? When they wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they survived. I mean, that's what it made it look like to me. You're right. They closed the doors and stuff, but yeah, I believe they survived. Now, I don't think that Lawrence Fishburne character could come back and survive, because I think he's either stuck with it or he's already dead in the black hole. But them two, I think they survived. I just thought the ending kind of was just like all of a sudden, it's like, okay, boom, it's over,
Yeah.
after the explosion. But other than that, though, I still thought the ending was pretty satisfying, and having the captain sacrifice his life to save his crew, because there is a backstory on Lawrence Fishburne's character, the Captain Miller, that he did lose a crewman and he had to close the door on him while he was on fire, and he, that's kind of, he says, I'll never lose a crewman again, and obviously he does lose them here, but he does sacrifice himself and redeems it, and so I think it's a good ending for him.
Yeah. Like, it was definitely something where I thought when he pulled the trigger on the explosive and, like, the main hulls of the ship exploded, I thought that he was gonna be able to destroy the black hole, but unfortunately, like, not, right? And it kinda sucks because his other crew members pretty much ended up in hell. Like, he wasn't able to save them. Like they were physically dead on the ship, but not really. Like I guess whatever that entity was, which I now we have a name for him, which is Paimon. Which so, I mean, with this Paimon, the king of hell or whatever, he took them with him. But man, I wish that he would have got a better ending. Like it kind of sucks that he ends up in hell. Like it just sucks,
Yeah,
man. Like poor guy.
I
Like he
do.
was such a good dude.
I do feel that the Jason Isaacs DJ from the Harry Potter guy,
Yeah.
I feel like he got the worst death though, because I mean, it
Yeah.
was, at least he died, right? He didn't, like, we don't know, but he's just hung and he's opened up, and Doctor Weir does this to him when he comes back off after he rips his eyes and stuff. He goes crazy. But that death was also like one scene of that was gory and just creepy looking, especially as a kid. It's very it has that Hellraiser gothic vibe to it. That death was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like he was crucified. Like if you see the way he's hanging, it's like he's literally crucified. Um, but it I wish they would have mentioned more because obviously they keep saying hell and this and that. But I mean, it's cool that the comic book now has a name for whatever entity it is and how it actually says is the king of hell. But I wish they would have incorporated that somehow. Or like the entity that took over Dr. Weir would have been a little bit more we would have got like a slight more backstory, like something a little bit smaller, just kind of saying, how long they've been around or something, because it went from being space horror to almost like a religious thing, right? Like now all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's like hell and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I found it very fast. I mean, I love stuff like that. Like I would have gone into a rabbit hole. So it's just
Yeah, the movie had the heaven and hell vibes to it, right? Like the Lewis and Clark, also the design it's very from all these cathedral type things, and then on
yeah.
top, and then you also have hell at the end of the ship, which is with the black hole. So yeah, the I think the themes were there for it for sure.
Yeah, and when I was looking up, like, kind of some of the inspirations for the film, that's one thing it does talk about, like, these labyrinth type architectures, like Gothic cathedrals and art and stuff like that, concepts of haunted houses, reimagined, like, void of space, but there's also some inspiration from real life events. So they talk about, like, real ghost ships like the Mary Celeste, so that's one inspiration for the movie. Also like that whole H.P. Lovecraft. That's something that was it's a very mixed bag between, ghost ships, Lovecraft, Hellraiser, Alien. Like it's just man, they were just picking a little bit from each one and just getting a little recipe and just throwing it all together.
Yeah. No, they did a good job with it, and it made it unique in its own way. I say steal from the best, and then they stole little things from the best and created something original. So it's cool.
Yeah. And it's I think what's interesting about the film as well, it's the fact that they just went with it, man. Like they really did. They didn't try to make it something it's not. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They saw what worked, what was interesting, and they just went on and built from there. They didn't waste too much time with it at all. It was just fantastic. Man, it just left me wanting more. Like I want to know, like I don't know, like a year later, what happened? Did they end up looking for the captain or not? Like so many unanswered questions because obviously they survive, right? So you have the lieutenant, you have Cooper. Now they're gonna go back to Earth, and like, what are they gonna do? Like, are they gonna tell them, "Hey, we just saw hell, we lost the crew." Like, what happens next?
Yeah. Well, the unknown is pretty cool to have that mystery. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, man. It was
Yeah.
it, it, it was such a good one, man. But do what other movie recommendations do you have? Do you feel like would go kind of like a double, double film experience here? You could sit here and watch back to back, or just after watching this, if it leaves you wanting more. Like, what are some recommendations? I have at least like two or three.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, they're very different movies. But another movie that came out around the same time, I think it came out in '98, the next year, was a movie called Sphere. It's not a
Okay.
horror movie, it's a science fiction movie, but it has that '90s vibe to it, and I think it would go nice with this on the side. Something a little bit more like it. I want to come back to something more recent. Is a movie that I really enjoyed, and it doesn't take place in space. It actually takes place, and the movie's name is Underwater. And I really enjoyed that movie. It's really cool because it has the whole space feel to it, but they're underwater the whole time, kind of like the abyss, but not really like it's not. It's
Yeah.
like, and you see these creatures. I don't know if you ever saw the movie. I think it came out in like 2019, I think, or 18, something like that. Um,
Kristen
and Kristen
Stewart.
Stewart, yeah,
Yeah.
she's in it. She's the main, and it's a fun movie, man. I've seen it already. Well, I've seen it twice, and it's good. I really enjoy that one. I think that one, if you're going for something more from now, as Sphere from back in the time where it came out, and then maybe even something like, if you don't want to pair it up with Alien, then just watch the biggest ripoff of Alien. And it's called Life, the movie Life with with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds. It's a fun movie. I
Yeah.
like it, but I mean it's Alien big time on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with those. Obviously we talked about Alien and The Thing a lot. I think those are great recommendations. You have Alien from 1979, very claustrophobic sci-fi horror classic, obviously. The Thing, you have a prequel that they made, a modern one. I enjoyed it. I have nothing negative to say, but you obviously have the original, it's from 1982, and that one is a body horror type. You feel isolated. I mean, even though they're on Earth, I mean, it's still full isolation, very paranoia. You're wondering who's who can you trust? You have Pandorum from 2009. That one that was fantastic, very underrated. Um, and it's almost like, and some of my notes it says underrated spiritual cousin from the similar atmosphere, and it is true. It's very very similar. It has those remnants from this film, and one of my favorites, which is it's pretty expensive to find on Blu-ray, but it's Sunshine from 2007. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful film, very psychological, beautiful. just
Danny
such an
Boyle,
experience. Danny Boy, yeah, such an experience. And then you have Hellraiser, obviously, the original from 1987. It's
for sure.
horror, pain, and pleasure all blurred together. I mean, if you have the stomach for it, that's another recommendation. Do you have any, if for somebody that wanted to get into type of space movies, space horrors, do you feel like these are adequate enough to get them started, or would you say do you have something a little lighter to kind of get their foot in the door? Like, do you feel like recommending Alien would be like a good one, like a traditional, like, hey, check out Alien?
Yeah, I think for modern audience there is going to be some people because I've sat through Alien with some people that are younger and they do find the first Alien to be a little bit slow. It is a
Yeah,
slow burn movie. So if like so that's what I'm saying. If you want something more fast paced, then you go with something more modern like Life or Underwater.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, stick with the Alien movies. You want to see something that's a little bit more light, like you said. The Abyss is another underwater movie that has these type of vibes to it. That's a little bit lighter. James Cameron's The Abyss, and yeah, I mean, pretty much. Oh, Pitch Black, maybe. Pitch Black has
Ooh,
it maybe has nothing to do with this movie, but it has that dark science fiction to it, and it has yeah, so and it has all those creatures. I mean, it's a good movie. I like Pitch Black, so I would say why not give it a go. This will be a nice double feature. Very different, but still has similar vibes to it.
yeah. Yeah, I'd say if you're new, if you're saying GC Lee, like, I'm new to this. What are you recommending? Some of the key takeaways for sure. It's movies like Alien, The Thing. Those are pretty new. Obviously, The Thing, it's more body horror, and then you get more into movies like Pandorum, where it's a little bit darker. Still, there's a lot of like a few little jump scares here and there. And then if you're looking for more of a visual, where you want to enjoy space, but you still want the psychological aspect, you have movies like Sunshine. And then if you're full blown, you have the stomach for it. You know, you love body horror and you haven't seen Hellraiser yet. I mean, that's a staple for it. Highly recommend. There's another one I haven't seen. It's called Black Hole from 1979. It says a space odyssey with dark, unsettling tones. Have you seen that one?
I have not. I have not. I
No.
that one. I isn't that like a Disney movie though? Uh, I'm not sure. I'm not
It's
sure. I think that might be for like younger audience, but I've heard of it, but I've never seen that one.
I feel, yeah, same here, man. I feel like they had one, but I think that what they had was more of a documentary about black holes. But
Okay.
could be wrong, man. Um, but dude, is there anything else that you want to touch on the film, or do you think that wraps it up for us?
As far as the film goes, I think we covered a good amount. I hope everyone enjoyed it because we really had a good time talking about it. If you
Yeah,
haven't seen this movie, I totally recommend it. You can watch this by yourself, significant other friends. It doesn't matter. Like it's a I think it's a movie that you'll enjoy. It's a short watch. It's it's funny because the VHS says 95 minutes. The IMDb says like 96 minutes and the Blu-ray says like I don't know, it has like three different show times.
yeah.
95 for the for the Blu-ray there and the oh yeah the VHS is 97 minutes. I was like, "Oh, they added like 2 minutes on this one. I don't know."
I'm
but
checking my see, it's funny, my 4K Blu-ray, it says 95 minutes.
yeah, this one, right? Yeah, it
Yeah,
says
yeah, we
95 on
got the
this
same
one.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, and I wanna ask you too because would you say for somebody that's into cinema, right, compared to obviously somebody into more modern stuff that they're not really gonna care about VHS, they would obviously wanna check out the 4K, but do you feel that this is a movie that you enjoyed more on 4K? Or is it something you'd rather pop in the VHS or the DVD for?
Um, no, I think Blu-ray and 4K is probably the way to go. I think
Yeah?
4K is the way to go. The darker tones and stuff. I popped in the Blu-ray to watch some of the features, and I got to see some scenes on Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray is a little brighter, but not in a good way. A little bit more washed out. Still looks good though.
Yeah.
You know me, I love the idea of VHS. You know what I mean? But like the idea of it, I love holding a VHS. It reminds me of a kid
Yeah.
buying VHS movies and stuff like that. But I don't, I don't really like a movie like this that needs to have the widescreen and you need to see the whole thing. My problem with VHS, is that of course you get the pan scan full screen and you miss out on some of the movie. But it's still really fun to sometimes pop in a VHS and just have that nostalgia and just enjoy it for what it is, and to kind of go back on that. But I think I would go 4K for sure.
Dude, absolutely, man. I mean, if you listen to guys, if you're looking for the 4K, I mean, it comes jam packed with features. I mean, it has the making, which is a 5-part documentary. So I mean, what it says, yeah, 5 documentaries, Point of No
Yeah.
Return, the filming of Event Horizon with the director's commentary, secret and selectable director commentary, Unseen Event Horizon, the unfilmed rescue scene, conceptual art, and trailers. So you have a lot. Obviously, it's gorgeous. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm showcasing it right now with the slipcover. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, again, I enjoyed it watching it first time on 4K last night, and I was just blown away. Keep in mind, have an open mind with the special effects. At least in a few little parts, they're very minor. Like as far as for the ship, space, everything else is fantastic. It's just certain little things that obviously you're gonna tell us from the late '90s, but don't let that discourage you because I promise you, we're not exaggerating. The film speaks for itself, and once you start watching, you're gonna get sucked into it. And with that being said, if you want a copy, I want to go ahead and kind of showcase, put the spotlight on our sponsors, Valoria Video. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm showing you this awesome barcode here with a code. If you use this code, you get 10% off your order. It's Face the Movies 10. So you can go ahead, valoriavideo.com. There's a link in the description, so you go ahead and check them out. Amazing company. They just started out this year, so let's promote small business, preserving physical media, pick up a copy of Event Horizon. And yeah, this is not a selling tactic. I absolutely love this film. And I know a lot of people out there on YouTube, they're just trying to promote and sell stuff just to make money. Yes, obviously you do get something back from that transaction, but it's one of those you could always go online, see if it's streaming. If you enjoy it, pick it up. The 4K is absolutely stunning. Made it even more grotesque when you have those specific scenes. They really stood out beautifully. So check that out. But now, yeah, besides a little spiel here from our sponsors, I'm gonna go ahead and outro us out of here. And
Wait,
that's
wait,
it.
wait.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Oh,
what? But
the,
but there's more.
yeah.
A
What's
little
up,
scream. No, we didn't rate it. We got to give it a little
dude?
rating.
That's right. You know what? I got ahead of myself, guys. I apologize. I don't know what's
No,
wrong.
we're almost out. We just
The-
gotta go. I want to know what your rating for it is,
the-
mostly. You know.
man, I want to say, obviously, letterbox rating. I'm gonna give this a 4 because to me it was just the little CGI things is what really like made it leave it at a 4. Like I would even probably even set a 4.5 just because I thought it was man, it sucked me in. It was fantastic. I didn't feel once like, man, I didn't need this character. The story was too much or wasn't enough. It was just chef's kiss for me.
Yeah, every time I watch this movie, I like it a little more.
Yeah.
If we wouldn't have rewatched it, I would have given it a 3.5. But right now, I got it at a 4. So same.
Dude.
Really enjoyed it, man. I love these characters. I really love these actors. Every single actor brought their A game. It's such an entertaining movie. It's fast, like like we said, we would like a little longer, but I think it works really well. 4 out of 5 for me.
Dude, oh my god. So there you go, guys. I mean, combined we're at an 8. So we just destroyed the scale on Letterbox. But I mean, listen, guys, if you want to check out some more recommendations and reviews and stuff like that, I'm gonna link below Lee's. Lee, do you want me to put your letterbox or IMDb? Which one would you prefer to have on there on the description?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, yeah, the letterbox is fine. I know
Cool.
that's the I use both, but I love both, so it doesn't matter.
It really has become the standard now, man. Like that's all people talk about. So that's why I've been trying to be better with it.
Yeah, no, it's a social media movie app.
Yeah,
It works great. I love that I can put I put every movie I watch now. I could put it on there, my monthly watch, and IMDb just has stuff for like super film nerds that like if you ever travel somewhere and you wanna, if you go to California and you want to see where Freddy's house is, IMDb has all the locations there, and it has awesome trivia that you learn more about the movie. So I love to pause the movie halfway through and watch IMDb and to see some trivia, but Letterbox has a bunch of stuff that IMDb doesn't either. So I think they're both great for film fans. So yeah, pick your poison or enjoy them both.
yeah, perfect. Yeah. So guys, I mean, I'll put all those links in there. Obviously, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, guys, make sure to check this episode out on YouTube. You kind of see some of our reactions. Just hang out with us. Make sure to subscribe to both our channels and all that good stuff. But with that being said, let's go ahead and hit that outro. It's been an absolute journey boarding the Event Horizon. Super scary, but we survived. It's a film that proved sometimes the scary places in the universe is the human mind.
Yes, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Is Event Horizon a masterpiece of cosmic horror or just 90s camp with blood and guts?
Guys, don't forget to check out my channel, Face the Movies, and Lee's channel, Cinema Whiplash, for more breakdowns and reviews.
And thank you so much for spending your Friday night with us here at Friday Night Fright Night.
There we go. I mean, guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. All the good stuff really helps us out, keep these episodes going. And I mean, it's the best way to support us. Again, if you're looking to buy the movie itself or anything at all, a ton of good stuff coming out throughout the year. Check out valoriavideo.com, code face the movies 10, get 10% off your order. But until next time, keep your lights low, your volume high, and stay away from gravity drives. We'll see you on the next one, guys.
See you next time.